Hi guys, welcome to the realm of astrology. This is your horoscope for the weekend of 25th and 26th September 2021. But before we begin, I request you to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so that you can be notified every time I post a video. So let's talk about what's happening in the astrology today. And the first thing I want to talk about is the moon. The moon at 23 degrees of Taurus is squaring Jupiter, and this is a 90-degree angle, and this is about 4 a.m. Pacific time. And if you are elsewhere in the world, you can always convert the Pacific time to your time zone to know when the energy is going to peak for you. So what's happening here? The moon is our emotions, it's our inner heart and soul, and it's making a stressful aspect with Jupiter, the planet of hope, optimism, lessons, joy. So this could be a moment where we feel a little less optimistic, and the goal here is to make certain emotional changes so that we can feel hopeful again. Or it could be that we learn an emotional lesson, or any lesson for that matter, and that requires us to adjust our emotions in certain ways. But this energy can feel a little stressful, but stressful does not mean negative. So that's 4 a.m. Pacific time. And moving on, shortly after this, shortly after this, at about 6 a.m. Pacific time, we have the moon here trining Pluto, positive. And the moon is our emotions, and Pluto is the planet of transformation, of catharsis, of endings, of beginnings, of healing, of regeneration. And this is a positive moment here. So it could be that we transform our emotions, we heal our emotions, or we simply end an emotional way of being and begin a new one. All Pluto things basically transform our emotions. And this is a trine. It comes about easily and naturally. Whatever this transformation is, whatever this change is, whatever this ending or beginning is. Because we did the work when the moon and Jupiter squared at 23 degrees, right? About a couple of hours ago at 4 a.m., when the moon squared Jupiter, we did make some emotional changes. We did adjust something in our emotions, or we learned an emotional lesson. And because of that, we've been able to transform our emotions quite easily and naturally, trine to Pluto. Then moving on, next important thing happens at about 3 p.m. And this is a positive aspect. And what's happening here is that Mars is trining Saturn. Positive. Mars is the planet of action, it's the planet of willpower, of taking initiative, of our drive, right? That's Mars. It's our energy in a way. And Saturn is the planet of hard work, of decisions, of commitment, of discipline. So, what could be happening here is that we find some commitment towards taking action. We find the willpower towards making things happen or taking decisions. Whatever this energy is, it will really help us decide things, take action, and move forward in a disciplined way. It could just be that we find that drive to work hard, or we find something in ourselves to move forward and take action, or it could be that we take a decision or make a commitment that leads to moving forward and taking action. So it's a positive energy, and it will, in put very simply, it will give us that fuel to make things happen, to decide things, to move forward in life, right? So that's a positive aspect. And let's not forget that the sun here okay, let me clean up the chart. The sun here at 3 degrees is almost trining the north node. This happens exact at about midnight tonight, Saturday. So let's just speak about it now, and then we'll put all these aspects together. The sun trining the north node. The north node is where we are headed. It's our goals. And the sun is our identity. It's our consciousness. It's our soul. So at this point here, we are moving towards something, and we are feeling like that something is falling more and more in sync with who we truly are. Sun trine the north node. Our goals are in sync with our identity. Our goals are in sync with our consciousness. Our goals are in sync with our soul. We're feeling like, yeah, this is who I am in my soul, and yeah, this ties into my goals in certain ways. And now let's put this energy together. Mars trine Saturn, and let's face it, Saturn is also trining the North Node, 4-degree orb, and this entire energy is also in a trine. So there's a lot happening here, a lot of positivity, and let's break it down one by one. So Saturn has been trining the North Node for months now, and Saturn trining the North Node for months simply means that whatever our goals are, the North Node is for the long run Saturn, and we are working on it slowly. And now Mars has come in, and it's giving us that drive and that willpower and the courage to move towards that goal a little bit better. And whatever these goals are, with Sun trining the North Node, these goals are in sync with our truth. And the theme of 2021 is about finding authentic self. It's about removing all the masks that we wear and going down to the truth, our true self. So this is an important moment in that, and it comes after the full moon in Pisces, which happened on Monday. And that full moon is about release and letting go of the past that we carry with us. It's about releasing the subconscious pain and fears that we have with us. And this trine, this grand trine, Saturn trine the North Node trine the Sun, Mars trining Saturn, all this is just a moment that will really help us find that either it's a commitment, we say, okay, enough of the past, I commit to this thing, enough. I commit to a better future. I commit to better health. I commit to taking action. I commit to making a change, whatever it is. Or I decide these things. And in that moment, we can move towards the future, move towards our goals, the North Node, which is in alignment with our soul, our consciousness, our identity, with our true self, right? The Sun is our soul. It's our true self. And that's pretty much it for today, except for one aspect. So let's talk about that. And this happens at about 7 p.m. Pacific time. And what's happening here is that the moon has entered the sign of Gemini, right? So this is a very different energy than Taurus. The moon has been in Taurus for the past 2.5 days, and the moon in Taurus is a slower energy. It's a more stable energy. It's an energy that likes to indulge in good food or nature, or just indulge the senses. And Gemini is a very different energy. Gemini is a lot of energy. Gemini is doing a little bit of this, a little bit of that, talking about this, talking about that, wanting to learn a lot, wanting to do a lot of energy. And that's the positive of Gemini energy. The negative of Gemini energy is that it can be overwhelming. And the North Node is in Gemini, right? We'll talk about this. Actually, let's just talk about it right now, because by midnight, the moon is going to conjunct the North Node. So there, by midnight, almost 1 a.m., the moon has conjuncted the North Node. And what does this mean? North Node is an energizer. It energizes any planet that it comes in contact with. And in this case, it's our emotions. So this could be a moment where we can feel like a lot is happening. We have to do so much. I want to learn so much. I want to talk about all these things. And it can be overwhelming, right? But it is also a moment where we feel like emotionally we are in sync with where we are headed. Emotionally, we are in sync with our goals. But with the moon in Gemini and the North Node there, it becomes important to take time out to go within a little bit. Because Gemini energy can be very overwhelming. It can be very restless. There can be a lot going on. So this is a moment where we might need to take a step back and just go within and take a few breaths. And let's talk about Sunday now. So moving on, the first important thing happens at about 8 a.m. Pacific time. And what's happening here is that the moon now is trining Mars and trining Saturn. So this does tie into the energy that we spoke about for Saturday, with all the trines and finding that will and the courage and the drive to move towards our goals. And here now, our emotions have kind of been incorporated in that energy. It's not just that we find that drive and courage and willpower to move towards our goals, which are for the long run, or make a commitment towards those goals, but now emotionally also we feel like we can go there. And that's because hours before, the moon conjuncted the North Node. And like I said, that could have been a moment where emotionally we begin to feel more in sync with our goals. And because that has happened, now we can find that emotional power, so to speak, to move towards our goals as well. So emotions begin to fall in line with our goals. So this is a very positive energy, a grand trine, Mars, Saturn, the moon, the sun, and the north node is still trining. So this is a moment, to sum it up without all the jargon, this is a moment where we can really let go of the past in a very powerful way and step into the new, step into the future, take a step towards our goals, and everything seems to fall into place as we do this. And then moving on, I will talk a little bit more about this energy towards the end of the horoscope. But let's just get through the important aspects. The moon at 10 degrees is sextiling Chiron. Now, Chiron is our wounds, it's our pain, but it's also healing. And this is the moment here at 2 p.m. Pacific time we can find some healing. Whether that feels bittersweet or not, I cannot say. Most likely it will feel slightly bittersweet because it is Chiron. Any aspect with Chiron usually feels bittersweet, but it is a healing. And this could very well be because we decide to make that commitment that I've been talking about, or the decision to move towards our goals, or that courage or willpower to say, okay, time to move towards the new. And in that, soon after that, there's healing. And this is a point where Mercury has reached 25-28. Right now, it's going to start to go retrograde. The retrograde happens about 10 p.m. Pacific time, so we'll talk about that as well. Okay, let's talk about that, and then we'll go over all the energy to break it down. Okay. So, as you can see, this is about 10 p.m. Pacific time, and Mercury is at 25-28. Now I'm going to move up the chart, and you'll see by 11 p.m. Pacific time, Mercury has gone retrograde. Right? For most of the world, this will be on Monday, but for Pacific time, it's 11 p.m. almost, 10:30, 11 p.m. Sunday night, and Mercury is retrograde. Now, Mercury retrogrades are not the best time to start new things, sign new contracts, gadgets can malfunction, communication can slow down. So that's the basic theme of a Mercury retrograde. It's also a time where we reprocess a lot of our thoughts, a lot of our routine, a lot of our health, a job, a lot of reprocessing happens during Mercury retrogrades. And Mercury will be retrograde till October 18th. So that's when it will come out of retrograde. And let's talk about this Mercury retrograde a little bit more. I'm going to try to keep it as short as possible, but there's a lot happening on the weekend. So if you can see the chart, Mercury retrograde is going retrograde at a point where it is in a square to Pluto, it is in a trine to Jupiter, and we have Mars in a trine to Saturn, right? And the sun in a trine to the north node, almost. So this Mercury retrograde, these aspects can give us glimpses into the themes that might come about during this retrograde. And one of those themes is transformative communication, right? Transformation to our routine, our diet, our health, our thinking, our job, our health, with the square to Pluto, which we already started this week. But this is one of the themes that will come up in this retrograde. Transformation to these things. We'll review those things again. And there's a blessing. As we transform our thinking, or as we transform our day-to-day or our routine, there's a blessing with a trine to Jupiter, something positive at the end of it. And this Mercury retrograde, although gadgets can malfunction and communication does slow down and it's not the best time to start new things, this Mercury retrograde will in many ways give us that fuel to step into the new. And it will also help us move our identity more in sync with our goals, with the trine to north node. So those are the basic themes of Mercury retrograde. And to sum it up, I would say that this weekend we can have a moment, or many moments, where we really say, I decide to let go of the past. I decide to move towards the future. I find it in me finally, that courage, that willpower to move towards what I want without the baggage of the past. Yes, we're still releasing, but they're not mutually exclusive processes, right? We can be releasing and still stepping into the new at the same time. And I think that's what's happening. As we let go simultaneously, we find it in ourselves to decide, to make commitments, to take decisions, to find that fire and that fuel to move towards our long-term goals. And this weekend, we are being supported by the planets to do so. And Mercury going retrograde may actually help us. Yes, communication will slow down and all those things will happen that I mentioned, but it may really give us that breathing space where we can review the changes we are making, where we can review our actions, where we can review even letting go of the past. Because with the trine to Jupiter, this Mercury retrograde, although it might require us to transform and all those things, it can bring a lot of blessings, Jupiter. That's all I'm going to say. I usually give the big picture of 2021 in every video, but I like to keep it short on the weekend. And this has run very long in any case. So if you want to know the big picture of 2021, you can wait for my Monday's horoscope or watch Friday's horoscope, either way. And I hope you have a great weekend. I will pick a card for this weekend and then we'll close out the reading. Okay, now let me do that again. Just go with the top card. It says imagine. I think this is a weekend I think we got this card last week also, but this is a weekend where we can imagine the future, where we can imagine and really dream of all the possibilities. Because when we can let go of the past, a bright future opens up for us. To be fair, I think there's so much energy. This is a card that says Libra, right? It's like the scales, right? Yes, no, pros, cons, what's fair, what's right, what's wrong, Libra. And I think this weekend with the Sun in Libra, Mars in Libra, Mercury retrograding in Libra, a lot of this is about weighing things out, right? It's about being fair to yourself. Being fair to yourself. I think that's what you need to look at this weekend. Because sometimes we may be fair to everybody else except ourselves. And maybe this card is saying that be fair to yourself as well. Serendipity. And I think this weekend can feel a little fated in some ways. It can feel like, okay, things were meant to be like this or something like that, right? It can feel like that. Okay, something's mending. This is also a weekend that will help us heal. And it ties into the full moon in Pisces, right? If we can let go, if we can surrender, if we can let go of the subconscious pain and fears and transform, we can heal. And I know this process might not feel easy, right? Because let's face it, Mercury is squaring Pluto. Squares don't feel easy. So, but the way to think about this is that at the end of it, there is a blessing, trine to Jupiter. Go the distance. And I think this card is saying keep going. Don't give up. You're about to cross the finish line. This card is a reminder to keep going. Because it's been intense, right? It's been intense. Release, letting go, getting rid of the past is never easy. but I think that's what the universe is asking us to do. And if in that process you feel demotivated, or you feel like, okay, no, I'm done, I can't move on anymore, I think about the fact that there is a blessing at the end of it. Jupiter is trining Mercury, and we got a card that is telling us to keep going as a reminder. So I hope you have a great weekend. I know this has run a little longer than usual, but there's a lot happening this weekend. So I hope you have a great one. I'll see you in my next video.